Yahweh Shemel Shai. Yahweh Shemel Shai. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise opened, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the mob is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end is shewed the treasure of immortality. Let my soul bless Yahweh, the great King. When Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stones, thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. And all her streets shall say, Hallelujah, and they shall praise him, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, which have extolled it forever.
It's about time, man, because I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get the kingdom. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to breathe fresh. I'm ready to have beautiful, pure women, okay? Not no strawberry harlots on this side. Ready to have children, man, you can vibe with, okay? Be around brothers. Be around the Lord himself, okay? I'm ready to go and visit places in the galaxy that we didn't know exist. All right? I'm ready to walk on sandy beaches, man, and explore the ocean floors. I'm ready to fly. Okay, I'm ready to eat real food. Okay, I'm ready to drive a chariot, man. All right, I'm ready to minister to the Lord and to be ministered to, man. Okay, I'm ready to worship Yahweh Shai in its full entirety. Okay, I'm ready for it. We're ready, man. I'm ready to see angels and greet angels.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakapadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to each other brothers. And peace and blessing salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing the word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today is got two videos I want to get into. Okay, we're going into Eve, has a dream of war. All right, and justice will be served. Okay, and what we have to understand, we're at the end game. This is where, all the prophets of old, spoke of these times. All right, and this great transition, from Esau, Edom, the last heathen, to have power, okay, and authority in the earth, until the transfer of the kingdom of Israel, in which Yahweh Shai is coming back to establish. Okay, as Yahweh Shai is coming back to establish the throne of David, which represents, Israelite superiority in the earth. Okay, the unity of the tribes and the will of the Lord being the standard, okay, of the earth. Okay, so we're here at this point, and there's only a few things left to happen, before this transition. Okay, and we know that this third world war, all right, that's the passing of the baton, okay, from Esau into Jacob. Okay, the taking of the baton. And the scripture say the saints shall take the kingdom. So let's go here, got a few precepts, and then we'll get into some videos and expound on them in the spirit. And Lord will, you brothers and sisters are edified. Now, this is the book of 1 Peter chapter 4. All right, in verse 7, it says, the end and culmination of all things is near. Therefore, be sound-minded and self-controlled for the purpose, all right, of prayer. Staying balanced and focused, and this is an AMP. Staying balanced and focused on the things of the Most High, so that your communication will be clear, reasonable, specific, and pleasing to Him. Okay, so we at the end, all right, in the culmination of all things. All right, the end of all things is at hand. Okay, so we have to be more sharp than ever, more important than ever. Okay, being about the Father's business, understanding what's going on. In the scriptures say, "Be not ignorant over things small or great." Okay, so we have to be more important than ever right now. All right, as we see, okay, we're here. All right, everything that this devil is doing, okay, he's trying to establish his NWO, and he got all the madness he got going on. Okay, wars and rumors of war. Okay, the persecution that's to come, Jacob's trouble. Okay, so it's a lot going on, and we're commanded, to be balanced, to be focused. All right, to be sound-minded, self-control, discipline. And being more pleasing to our power than ever, seeing that we need more mercy and favor than ever, man. Okay, so let's go from there. Let's get this. Okay, let's go here. Let's get this in the book of Second Esdras. Okay, and then we'll segue to this dream of war. All right, and it says this Second Esdras chapter 7. Okay, in verse 42. Okay, I started 43, get to the point. It says, "But the day of doom shall be the end of this time." All right, knowing that this place, as they say, is going to go out with a bang. All right, the Lord is going to shake the earth when He ends this empire, literally. Okay, and it's going to be what? From those missiles. Okay, and the chariots as well. It says, "In the beginning of immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past," man. And immortality is for Israel. Okay, for Israel only. Okay, which that's a part of salvation. Okay, being delivered from sin, which whose righteousness is going to make us immortal. Those new bodies, which that's part of the salvation package, only for Israel, man. But that's another topic. All right, we'll get into. It says, "Intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and the truth is sprung up." Okay, so this is what we're seeing. Righteousness, all right, is constantly growing. Okay, you see, truth is constantly springing up to where whether it's dreams or whether it's people talking points, is all rooted back in truth. Okay, but this spirit of this undisciplined society is coming to an end. Infidelity, this unbelief is coming to an end. Okay, because people are going to have no choice but to believe. Okay, if they're living in these prophecies, man. Okay, but for the masses, it's going to be too late. It said, "Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed." Okay, ain't gonna be no fixing or healing Babylon. Okay, ain't gonna be no what about the white man, in that day. Okay, just gonna be judgment going forth. Okay, you're not gonna be able to plead and talk, all right, your way out of judgment. You're not gonna be able to defend wickedness. Okay, it's just going to be judgment going forth, nor to oppress him that have gotten the victory, nor is there going to be anything to stop, all right, the elect from winning, the righteous from winning. Okay, because this world is built on suppressing righteousness. Okay, and forwarding wickedness, man. Well, in that day when Yahweh shot, all right, is judging the earth, man. Ain't gonna be no stopping the judgment on the wicked, and there's no way to stop the victory for the righteous, man. Okay, there's going to be a change of empire. It's going to be a transition. No one can stop this transition. Okay, no matter what Esau, all right, tried to pull out his hat, it's not going to work. Okay, so let's go from there. Okay, matter of fact, let's go to this war. We'll probably go back to it towards the end. Okay. So let's go here. And this was put up by the brother Yaquab. All right. It said Eve shares a dream about signs in the moon in World War III. So let's play this.
Hey, I pray all is well. I just want to share this dream that I had about 2 days ago. I had this dream on November the 5th. Today is November the 7th. It is 7:02 p.m. This dream left me with an urgency to let the world know, or who all that encounters this video, who all sees this video, just let the world know what I believe the Lord is saying in this time. So the dream goes, it was me and two of my uncles. We were riding. It looks almost like they were taking me home. I was in the back seat. They were in the front seats. One of my uncles was driving, and as he was driving, I was looking out the window. And as I looked out the window, I saw the moon. It was broad daylight. I mean, it seemed to be like a Sunday, and it was broad daylight, but I saw the moon so clear, and the moon was so big that it was almost like you can reach out and grab it. It seemed like it was so close to the earth. And then as I looked up in the sky, I looked out of the other window, and as I looked up in the sky, I saw two more moons. So there was about 3 moons in the sky in the broad daylight. And I was amazed, guys. I was just like, wow, what is going on? What's going on with the sky? Look at the sky. And I'm telling my uncles to look in the sky. And one of my uncles, he said, well, that's a sign of the times. It'll be in the heavens. And so he was just talking about how there will be signs that we could see in the sky. And as he said that, as I'm
And that's prophetic. All right. So let's stop there. Let's go here real quick. You know, in which we've been seeing signs, you know, for a while, you know, which let's go here. Okay. Because even when you get that in Joel and in the book of Luke, let's get that in Joel first. All right, Joel 2. Okay. Get this in KJV. All right, so let's go here to the book of Joel chapter 2. Okay, in verse 28. All right, and it says, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Okay, so as you can see, all right, this woman Eve, you know, she's having a dream. All right, and this her dream is about prophecy. Okay, now this doesn't mean, you know, that the woman is going to be on the street corners prophesying and have a platform to prophesy. Okay, and go through the scriptures and break these things down. No, she's going to speak on her dream, which she's prophesying, you know, just by speaking on the dream. Okay, but the interpretation of her dream is going to come through the prophets. Okay, verse 29, it says, and also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. You know, so there's a spirit that's been pouring out. All right, where the Lord is allowing, you know, people to have, you know, dreams and visions about things to come. Okay, and she's finna speak on, you know, those missiles. That's what she's finna get into. It says, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire, pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, those eclipses, and blood moons. Okay. Before the great and terrible day of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shah come, which that's going to be what? The nukes and the chariots. That's going to be that day. Because the day of the Lord also goes into a time leading up to the actual day. That time of tribulation is going to lead to that actual day. Okay, of the nukes and the chariots. Okay. You see, so that's the dream, that she's having. Okay, let's go here. It's the vision of the day of the Lord. Okay, and she's gonna get, she's gonna expound more on it. Now, when you go here, this is Luke 20, 1 and 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, and in the stars upon the earth, distress of nations. With perplexity, the seas and waves roaring. It's going to be chaotic. Going back to those signs they spoke of in Joel. People in perplexity, not knowing what to do. Okay, which, let's get that, because she's going to speak on that as well, perplexity. People confused. Okay, so going to perplexity. People having no idea or even how to respond to what's going on. Let's get this word in the Greek.
Strong's G 640, aparia. Aparia.
Okay, I think you're going to the root word.
Strong's G 639, apareo. Apareo.
Apareo. All right, said to be without resources, to be in scrapes. All right, aren't we in a time where food insecurities at an all-time high? Food banks are being overwhelmed. The threat of people being cut off from benefits. Okay, it said to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, to be in doubt, to not know which way to turn. All right, not to know how to decide or what to do, to be perplexed, to be at a loss of oneself, to be in doubt. And this is going to be, the state of the masses. This is going to be the state of society. This is going to be the norm, perplexity. Okay, people being absolutely confused, not knowing what to do in these times, man. Okay, not even knowing how to respond to these times, man. They're just going to be perplexed. Okay, a lot of people just going to be paralyzed with fear. Okay, so let's go back to the dream.
Looking, I saw something else in the sky, but it looks like it kept getting closer and closer. And as it got much closer, I realized what it was. It was bombs. It was missiles coming out of the sky. And it was so many of them. And by the time I realized what it was, they were landing. And as they landed all around us, everything started to explode. It hit cars, it hit houses, it hit the roads. I mean, they were everywhere. The bombs were landing everywhere, and it was so scary. It was so scary. And I just remember my uncle driving. He was just trying to maneuver through all the chaos and trying to get through. And then I looked over to my right, and as I looked over, there was a family. It looked like it might have been a wife, a husband, a child, and another gentleman. They looked like they had just got out of the church. And where this happened, like in real life, it happened on a road near my home, and it was right across the street from a church. And this family looked like they had just gotten out of church, and they were running, and I perceived it to be, they were confused, as everybody was, but they didn't know what was going on. And they were looking all around, and they were screaming. And just as I made eye contact with the lady. You had bombs coming out of the sky, and there were bullets coming out of the sky. And so just as me and the lady's eyes locked, bullet came down. It shot her in the chest and in the face, and she fell over into the bushes, and her family crowded around her, and everybody was screaming. And then I just began to cry, and I woke up. And I woke up crying. I woke up, it scared me. I woke up hyperventilating. I went into prayer immediately afterwards.
She woke up, all right, hyperventilating, you know, from a vision. Our forefathers, when they will have visions, you know, they will be weak, you know. So she had a vision, man. All right. Now let's touch on, all right, the rest of that vision through precepts. Okay. And we'll go back to Joelle because she said, you know, the missile was just hitting everything, you know. And she seen nukes hitting. Okay. When Lord had her in the midst of it, man, I said she woke up hyperventilating, man. You know? So let's deal with the missiles hitting everything. Now also what they was going into dealing with, all right, their family, you know, that was coming from church. All right. And she seen that woman get unalive. Okay. Now this is the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1. It said, blow you the trumpet in Zion and sound the alarm in my holy mountain. Okay, and this is what the prophets are doing. We're sounding the alarm of this. Well, she's having a vision about, well, the prophets have been sounding the alarm for decades, man. Beginning with our apostles and elders and their elders. They've been sounding the alarm, okay, blowing the trumpet, okay, and warning of this day, okay, of this time that we're coming into. It said, let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it's nigh at hand. Okay, and she's seen the day of the Lord, which was the nukes, man. Okay, it says a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. And this is great people speaking about the missiles. Okay, the day of gloominess, man, these mushroom clouds, man. Okay, what they call it, dark winter. You see, it said there have not been ever the like, okay, because there's never been, all right, the nations have never had a nuclear stockpile before in history, okay. This is the first time these nations have had nuclear stockpiles in existence since the earth existed, man. You know, so there's never been an arsenal of nukes in the earth like we have today, all right, and the Lord allowed them to be created for the sake of prophecy. Okay, neither shall there be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. Okay, it says a fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape. Okay, so a fire devoured before them those warheads. She's seen these warheads getting closer and make impact. And behind them, the flame burning, which is the projectile. The land is as the Garden of Eden in America, and it was likened to a paradise. And behind them, the aftermath of the missiles, okay, a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape. Okay, real ground zero, when those missiles hit, you're done. If you're not the elect of Israel, you're not in those chariots. Okay, if you don't have that view, okay, or the glass mingled in fire, Revelation 15, looking at the destruction of America from those chariots, well, you're out of there. Okay, it said the appearance of them is the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run, you know, which and Joel is describing it, you know, it's like powerful horses, you know, horses go into power, you know, their speed, you know, because they're going to be hypersonic. Okay, so he's seeing, you know, a powerful, okay, fast and powerful weaponry, all right, coming to America, man. It said, like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains, you know, they're going to be loud, shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoured the stubble as a strong people set, all right, in battle array, which this people represents the nukes, All right, because the nukes are part of the Lord's army. It says before. It said before the face. All right, before their face, the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. Finish. Okay, people are going to be sick. You see, those nukes, those warheads just constantly hitting, and all you can do is just wait on your turn. You feel it, because you're gonna be. Hey, that's gonna just that moment, man, is just gonna be. Hey, just thinking about it now, you're ground zero, and this is happening, man. I don't want no parts, man. Okay. Verse 7 said, they shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his way, and they shall not break their ranks, man. So every missile is going to have his own customized trajectory. Okay, and they're not going to hit, one another. All right, they're not going to no missile. Okay, is going to be in vain, shot in vain. No, it's going to have particular purpose, and it's going to have destruction. Okay. And it says, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Okay, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. So they're not going to hit each other. Okay, the missile defense system is not going to intercept any of them. Okay, everyone's going to have their customized trajectory to hit his target, man. Verse 9, she said, they shall run to and fro in the city. She said she's seen them hitting everything. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb upon the house. They shall enter in the windows like a thief. Okay, so like the scripture say, all the elements shall be melt with fervent heat. Okay, the fire from these nuclear explosion, these warheads, is just going to dissolve. Okay, all the elements, and what's going to be left behind is a desert. Okay, there's not going to be it's not going to be war torn. No, it's going to be a desert. Okay, it's not going to be, partially, destroy buildings. No, this is going to be completely dissolved of the elements. Okay, it's going to be, a piece of car here, a piece of building there, a piece of stop something. No, it's going to be completely, dissolved. All right. It said the earth, shall quake before him. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, because these missiles are going to blot out. Okay, those celestial, entities, man, the sun and the moon. Okay, and the stars. Okay, and the wisdom and knowledge of this world is going to be, it's over. It's going to be people, perplexity, man. You see, because she said the woman in church, she didn't know what to do. Okay, that family, they was perplexed. The church ain't putting them on prophecy, man. If you're in the so-called black church, if you're in the nigga church, you're the least informed about anything that's happening in the world, especially with prophecy, man. The nigga church don't touch on prophecy at all. Okay? The nigga church does not touch on prophecy at all, man. If you're in these nigga churches, all right, the black Christian church, you're the least informed. You're not being told about these things. Okay? And what happened? All right, she was unalive, and it was brutal. Okay? Because even you go here, even in the second Ezra, the 7th chapter. All right, let's go here to second Ezra chapter 7. Okay. So second Ezra 7, and I started at 20. Okay, it says, for there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of the Most High that is set before them. Okay, So here it is, our people despise the word. All right, and they're just set to perish. That's why I say the preaching of the gospel is foolish to them that perish. And she's seen a family, okay, come out of the church with no understanding. All right, because they're set to perish. Because if you're still in the church, the Christian church, that means, you know, you have no clue of what's going on. You rejected real truth. Okay, it said, for the Most High have given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. So the prophets are out. Jake has no cloak. Okay, all these prophets that the Lord has raised up in the earth, especially in America. All right, and you're still going to, all right, so-called church. Okay, you've been given straight commandment. Every day the Lord has a warning goes out. Okay, what to do to be delivered and what to do, all right, to observe, to avoid punishment. Okay, he said, nevertheless they were disobedient to him, but spake against him and imagined vain things. Because if you're in church, you're hoping America continues. You're going to church, you're hoping, you know, that the society gets right. Okay, you want a great American revival if you're still in church, and that's part of the reason church, you know, is dwindling. Okay, but church gives people that weekly hope of this world getting better. You see, the true prophets telling you about true judgment. Okay, and the will of Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, instructions in righteousness, doctrine, what's to come, prophecy, man. Okay, you're going to church, you're just getting rocked to sleep with vain hope. Okay, and you're going to walk straight into punishment, man. Okay, he said, nevertheless, they were not obedient to him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and they knew not his ways. But his law have they despised, and denied his covenants, and his statutes have they not been faithful, and have not performed his works, man. So as our people continue on in a way that's displeasing to Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, all right, they're just going to pass on to judgment. Okay, as the scriptures say, we'll end it here. You know, we'll end it here. Let's get this in the book of Proverbs, man. Okay, let's go here to Proverbs 22. All right, Proverbs 22 and 3, it says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil, you know, which the Lord has put the spirit on the prophets to be prudent, you know, in the church. All right, you know, to build up the church and warn the church of things to come. You know, so you have the body of Yahushua, the church of Yahushua. There's a spirit of prudence, you know, to foresee the evil and hide it himself. And how do we hide ourselves, man? In Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai. Through faith and obedience to our power, we're hiding ourselves, okay, from judgment, man. Okay? But the simple pass on or are punished, man. And if you're in the Christian church, the black Christian church is that, okay, all right, you're going about a simple way. All right, and you're passing on straight to punishment, man. Okay, so that was the point, you know, Lord will, you know, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai B'Hashem Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the whole elect. Shalom.